Alright, yeah, I gotta move this motorcycle. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. I'm stuck. Ooh, I'm stuck. There we go. It happened again. Ooh, Ha. Ha. Hey guys, it's I, the Red Menace. Today we're going to be taken to the sky, making a fairly simple flight craft referred to as the Takers Thunderbolt. It is an analogy made by a gorilla named Ishmael, comparing our current human society to a flight craft. I will elaborate further on this analogy in some coming clips. So, before I elaborate on this analogy, there's a few basic things you need to know about how the aircrafts we have today fly. An airplane wing is not flat. If it were flat, the air would pass over the top and under the bottom, completely the same with the same amount of force, and it would just be like a knife cutting through butter. That's no good. We don't want that. Instead, an airplane wing is shaped flat or with a slight curvature on the bottom, but with a more emphasized curvature on the top. What this does is create a point of lower pressure. The air underneath it has a constant state of flow. The air above it has to speed up slightly, creating small vacuum gaps, meaning there is lower pressure above the wing than beneath it. Because of this, when ample airflow is provided, the pressure below the wing, the air underneath it, is able to force the wing upwards, as well as the craft attached to it. However, this means a couple things. One, this wing has to be completely fixed. Two, there has to be constant thrust provided, otherwise aircraft goes down. From this, you might be wondering, how do birds fly? They flap their wings. If they flap their wings, why can't our aircrafts? There's a lot of variables in that, but essentially, why a bird flies is that if you look at it, its wings, they kind of do this thing, this interesting thing where they do that. I don't want to explain it, because I don't know how to explain it. Before we knew these basic laws of aviation, we would devise flight crafts that would attempt to mimic a bird, because man at this point in time would look at something that they saw work and try to copy it. Not inherently wrong, but what they would often devise, or at least as said by the gorilla, were crafts similar to bicycles that had wings. However, these wings had something somehow attached to the chain of the bicycle so that these wings would be able to flap. And the theory was that that would create up force. Problem with this, no frontward force. And how they would launch these is they would shove them off cliffs. As terrible of an idea as this sounds, this was what was done for a long time. And this is what we're making. This is the flight craft that I, the Red Menace, am going to be creating in this video. And it is the flight craft that I, the Red Menace, will attempt to ride off of a cliff. Now, the gorilla, Ishmael, further elaborates on this, comparing it to Taker society, referring to anyone who is... If you read the book, it'll make sense. I don't have the intellect to explain it in a short video, but essentially, in comparing our society to this flight craft, he's saying we're not basing it off of a lot of correct knowledge, and we're falling to our doom. My plan to recreate the Takers Thunderbolt in this video is fairly simple. Now, because of the time frame I have to make it, it's not going to be fully functional. I don't have to make wings that flap. But, briefly, I'm going to explain why this flight craft will not fly, why if it does fly, I'm a complete failure, and how I'm going to make it. So, I've explained to you the laws of aviation, meaning that my wing, crudely made in my garage, out of canvas and cheap steel, should not be able to fly. It should not be possible. Furthermore, it's not even flapping. I'm not even creating up force. I'm essentially making a glider that will not do its job very well at that. What I have is a BMX bike I got on Craigslist for 20 bucks. And a bunch of pieces of 3-foot rebar. So what I'm essentially going to do is get 2 pieces of rebar and at an angle similar to so, little more than a 45 degree, I'm going to be welding them together to create the basic shape of an outfolded wing. If I want to get really elaborate, I can, doesn't matter. It's not a functional flight craft. Then I gotta weld kind of spokes-ish out there, perhaps at the corner, and maybe one down there. And then have spokes there, and there, perhaps there, and then have a separate material, a cloth material like canvas, go across there to create an actual wing, so that it won't just be a series of sticks I have sticking out of a bike seat. Now, I looked at the bike I'm going to be working on. It has almost no steel on it. It's an aluminum frame. This means I cannot very well weld rebar to it. However, the one place that does have steel, for some reason, is the seat. I guess they figured that most of the weight on the bike is the fat rider, so it has to be a stronger metal than the entire rest of the frame. So, what I can do here on the seat is somewhere on the long tube, if I remove it from the frame, I can drill 2 holes on either side. And in here, I can insert my wings at an angle, and then just weld that down. And that is my project seems a lot smaller when I draw it out.